Hello everyone. Welcome to my channel. Please subscribe and keep watching more details. Chris fights hard to keep his sister Tammy Slayton alive. Chris Slayton Combs isn't ready to give up on his sister Tammy just yet. And he's doing everything he can to fight to keep her alive. This article contains spoilers from Season 2, Episode 7 of 1000 LB. Sisters, if you haven't watched the episode titled Jerry Bites Back, yet you may want to exit this article. Chris Slayton Combs seizes opportunities to push his sister Tammy. Chris Slayton Combs admitted during tonight's episode that he seizes every tiny moment he can when it comes to Tammy having to be active. If he spots a moment where she could do just a little bit of walking, he pushes her to do so, because every little bit of physical activity is important to keep Tammy from becoming immobile. By the end of tonight's episode, Chris tells his family the sad truth. If Tammy reaches a point where she cannot get around on her own, the doctors believe she'll be signing her death wish at that point in time. So, he understands how important it is to push her to continue to get up and move around, even if it hurts. During the trip to the dentist, Chris seized an opportunity to make Tammy get up and walk. The wheelchair would not fit through the door, so Chris had Tammy get up. Then, he didn't let her sit back down right after. He pushed her to continue to walk to the examine room. He explained to the cameras this was his way of getting her to exercise, forcing her to push herself. She had to walk again during the baby shower. There were a lot of issues at the baby shower. For starters, Tammy had trouble getting in the vehicle just to get there. Once they got there, the wheelchair would not go across the gravel. So, they made Tammy do a little walking. She used the vehicle for support. Chris planned on backing the wheelchair over a ramp to get up to the picnic tables. But the ramp was not wide enough for the wheelchair. Tammy said she thought she could just walk up the ramp onto the picnic area. She, however, decided she could not do it after. They ended up having her use the wheelchair as a walker of sorts. Ultimately, she was able to get across the ramp and to the picnic area. Chris makes it clear he just wants his sister to stay alive. And he knows he'll have to push Tammy, so that continues to happen. The Slayton family has seen its share of battles, but nothing compares to the fight Chris Combs has waged to keep his sister, Tammy Slayton, alive. Through every hospital stay, every emergency, and every frightening moment when the doctors shook their heads in worry, Chris has been there, refusing to give up. For years, 1,000-pound Sisters viewers have watched the ups and downs of Tammy's journey. But behind the cameras, the stakes have always been higher than anyone could imagine. When Tammy's weight spiraled out of control, and her health hit dangerous levels, it wasn't just another storyline for TV. It was a matter of life and death. Chris knew that better than anyone. The turning point. The moment that changed everything came when Tammy was rushed to the hospital and put on life support. Her lungs were failing, her oxygen levels dropping dangerously low. As the machines beeped steadily, Chris stood outside her room, his heart pounding in his chest. "She's stronger than she thinks," he whispered to Amy, tears glistening in his eyes. "But I'm not going to let her go without a fight." It was in that moment that Chris made a promise to himself. If Tammy couldn't fight for her life, he'd fight for her until she could. When she woke up days later, weak and scared, it was Chris's voice she heard first. "You're not done yet, sis," he told her softly, gripping her hand. "We've come too far to quit now." That was the start of a new chapter. Not one filled with quick fixes or miracle diets, but one built on sheer determination, love, and tough honesty. A brother's love in action. Chris has always been known for his humor and no-nonsense attitude, but when it comes to Tammy, he's a gentle giant. Every appointment, every workout, every moment she doubted herself, he was there. When Tammy refused to leave the house for therapy, Chris showed up in his truck, honking the horn until she came outside. When she said she couldn't do it anymore, he sat beside her, talking her through each small victory. "I'm not asking you to climb a mountain today," he said once during a particularly tough session. "Just take the next step. One foot then the other." For every setback, there was a pep talk. For every emotional breakdown, there was a brother's hug. Chris didn't just see her as the world's Tammy Slayton, the viral sensation or controversial reality star. He saw her as his baby sister, the girl who used to sneak snacks under the covers, the one who could make him laugh until his stomach hurt. Facing the public pressure. The hardest part for Chris wasn't just Tammy's physical health. It was watching her become the target of public criticism. Viewers online often mocked Tammy's struggles, accusing her of laziness or attention-seeking. But Chris saw what they didn't. The pain behind her eyes, the years of emotional trauma that had built up like invisible weight. People don't get it, he once said during a confessional on 1,000-Pound Sisters. They think she's just sitting around doing nothing, but it's not that simple. Food was her comfort, her escape, and when you take that away, you've got to fill that hole with something else.
That's why he pushed her
toward therapy, even when she resisted. It ain't just about losing pounds, he reminded her. It's about losing the hurt that put those pounds there. The weight of hope. There were times Chris admitted he was scared. Watching Tammy struggle to breathe, seeing the fear in her eyes during hospital stays, it took a toll. He didn't sleep much those nights. He'd sit up, scrolling through old family photos, remembering happier days when the siblings would pile into the car for road trips, laughing and arguing like any normal family. He wanted those days back. So he fought harder. He cooked healthier meals when she came home, joined her on walks, and even made her laugh when she wanted to cry. If laughter burns calories, you're about to lose 10 pounds, sis, he'd joke just to see her smile. Every ounce of progress, no matter how small, became a victory for both of them. The breakthrough. The real breakthrough came when Tammy decided to go through with her weight loss surgery. Many fans gave credit to the doctors, but Chris knew it was her inner strength, and the family's relentless support, that made it possible. The day she was approved, Chris teared up. "I'm proud of you," he told her. "You did what most people thought you couldn't." But even then, he didn't let his guard down. Recovery was another uphill climb, and Chris stayed by her side, making sure she stuck to her new diet and didn't slip into old habits. When she struggled with cravings, he distracted her with long talks or short drives through Kentucky's backroads. "You've got a second chance, Tammy," he'd remind her. "Don't waste it." A family reborn. As the months went by, Tammy's health began to stabilize. She started breathing on her own again, walking more, and even smiling more often. Chris couldn't help but feel emotional every time he saw her make progress. In one heartwarming scene that never made it to air, Chris sat with Tammy on the porch as the sun dipped behind the trees. "You remember when they said you wouldn't make it out of that hospital?" he asked. Tammy nodded quietly. "Well," Chris grinned, "guess they don't know a Slayton when they see one." That moment summed up everything: the pain, the love, the fight, and the victory. It wasn't just Tammy's transformation. It was the entire family's. More than a show. For Chris, 1,000-Pound Sisters has never just been a show about weight loss. It's about survival, faith, and the unbreakable bond between siblings who've been through hell together. He doesn't care about fame or fan praise. He just wants his sister to live, to laugh, and to finally be free from the struggles that nearly killed her. "People call me tough on her," Chris said once, "but I'd rather she hate me for pushing her than love me while she's dying." That's what makes Chris Combs one of the most beloved and quietly heroic figures in reality TV. Beneath the humor and the Southern charm lies a brother who has made it his mission to keep his sister alive.